Perez. I'm a creative director for Prime Vice Studios, and I'm a sequential artist. And I love creating comics, concept art, and bringing ideas to life. And what we are interested in doing, or what I do, is I'm an artist, and I bring ideas to life, and I work on my own, and also instruct.
Okay. And so now you're right now you've been doing a lot of comic book work exclusively on the iPad.
Yes.
Well, at least the digital stuff comes through the iPad. And so when did you get that started on the iPad, and how'd you find Comic Drop? How'd you find Comic Drop? Did you go looking for it? Did somebody tell you about it? What happened?
Well, I wanted to it originally started as a hunt for Cintiq, and then when I went to an Apple store, I found all the capabilities of the iPad Pro for a cheaper price. So I figured I could use that as part of my workflow, since I already had a lot of these applications on my laptop. So I wanted to use something that I could have portable and also be able to work at home as a surface to draw on for digital work. So iPad Pro was sufficient for that, and I was using Procreate, which is an excellent drawing program, but I wanted to seek something that was more tailored towards specifically making comic art. And comic draw, I just looked up, comics and drawing, and that was the first app that popped up. Yeah, drawing comics, and that was the first app that came up. And it was a good program, simple to use, very intuitive, and also the biggest difference between Procreate and other drawing apps and Comic Draw was the ability to make whole books, which meant including scripts and being able to see your script as you're drawing, and importing parts of it as you're building up your book, and the lettering features.
Right, and that's what defines a comic book app, or something that you can make comic books with, right?
Yes.
That's very specific.
Yes. And another good thing about it was the exportability. So you're able to import it, make your art from like 300 dpi and above, even 1200, and be able to export it if you work hybrid to, print out a draft, or also export it and upload it onto the internet as a fully fleshed out, even up to full color comic.
So you don't need like Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever to format your comic book. It can come out of the app ready to go, huh?
Yes.
All right.
And if you work hybrid, as I do, I usually carry a notebook with me and do sketches. You could import pictures, you could download pictures, you could take pictures with the app itself.
Okay.
And make sketches, make fully fleshed out ink drawings digitally. And you can definitely just build up a professional looking comic, cartoon, illustration that you could upload digitally online, or also submit to other applications. You can make PDFs, PNGs, and PSDs, Photoshop files, and there's other apps that, including Photoshop, that take those kind of files, like Manga Studio, Clip Studio Art. So you're able to include it in your workflow even if you're used to using other apps.
All right, so today we're going to explore 5 things. We're going to narrow it down to 5 things, okay? And I know my 5 things, but off the top of your head, like what would be can you imagine the things that are most important to a comic book artist who does sequential art, who's used to working on paper, penciling, inking, and all those different things? What would be the 5 things, the first 5 things, and not the ultimate, not the only ones, but 5 things that the app is good for?
The app is good for getting started super fast and intuitively.
All right, hold on. Go ahead, that's one.
And the second thing is you're able to get your scripting.
I like that.
Completely done. And you're able to make sketches and put your rough ideas in a complete package. You can make your whole book as one file.
Right. So let's follow that one. Sketches and roughs, and you can take that process to your inking, color, and even balloons. Right. What do you call that? Lettering.
Yeah, lettering.
And then the last thing, because that's already like 1, 2, 3, 4 on that one. But so then the last thing is export the full comic. So that's what we're gonna explore, and you're just gonna give us a little bit of show and tell, because it will take too long to build and create something right now. All right, so start with the script. So you open Comic Draw.
Yeah, it's open.
And where do you go to set up your script? Can you what are those options available, and how do you start that?
Okay, so when you got the app open, there's a plus in the top left here. There's a plus, and it brings up a couple options here. The first one is create a comic, which is what we're here to do. You will press plus. As soon as you press plus, you're able to see different options for creating a comic. At the top, there's script options. After that, there's user templates. I've created a couple templates for myself that I use for my specific needs. Mm-hmm. And then there's different layouts available that you could use for the different purposes or your own. But these come in pre-formatted for you to take advantage of. So there's Euro layouts, which has A4, A4 landscape, large format, facsimile edition, standard edition, and it has the measurements under there. There's a manga layout, which is it shows here 5 by 5 inches by 7.75 inches. And then US layouts, it has a single comic square panel, comic strip, magazine, standard comic, standard landscape, US letter. So to give you the feel of what did we print it out as. Mm-hmm. And I made my own template here, which is 11 by 17 in 300 DPIs. And with my own trimmings, live bleed and live bleed and trim. Uh-huh. And those are just templates for that I'm used to working on from traditional. So when I'm drawing, I already have an idea what it would print out like if I needed to print it out to do a hybrid work, which means is part digital and part traditional, in creating the final product.
Okay, and so those are the things that you think about when you get started. Is as a comic book artist, you already need to think about your scripting, about the size of your comic book, and it has some templates already built in, but you can also build your own template.
Yes.
So that's some of the things that you think about coming into it, starting out. Awesome. So let's see, how do we get our script in there? Do you have any scripts in or in the iPad? Or
I have my own scripts, and though they're just in my own format, like plots and ideas that I have written down. Mm-hmm. And then there's templates here of how a typical script would go.
All right, let's use a typical script. Let's see what that means.
All right. So we have here the first one. Template heavy is called scripting your story. And it has just as an example that you could use as a template for you to build up your own stories and kind of get an idea how these features work.
Okay.
So I pulled up here the one that says scripting your story. So there's a title there, and here's an example of how a script would work as a title, a basic plot, and then some captions, sound effects, title of the story if you need to include it into the credits, and some speech dialogue going on between some characters. And it's divided into different pages as well. Right?
So that gives me an example. So when I'm writing my story, I can use that as a template to say, when it's a speech bubble and a character's talking, it has a little speech bubble there on the left, and it says that's what dialogue looks like.
Exactly.
And setting up a scene, it has what that looks like, what that kind of text looks like. Okay.
Exactly. Because some people, they may think they need a special, Word document or template, or they have to...
That's what I think.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
And it's okay, because when it comes to comic book scripting, it's more about the idea being written down and having something to play off of as you build your comic up. Mm-hmm. So, if you're working with another writer, you want to use some kind of template that's conventional for you. Mm-hmm. If you're writing your own stuff, you want to write in a way that's going to be useful for you. Okay. And I believe Comic Draw perfectly accommodates for that.
Right.
And since this template, it allows you to kind of understand those features if you're just a newbie. or even if you're seasoned as well, just so for you could get a feel for the features. So as we previously mentioned, on the left it has title, captions, speech bubbles. And why it has that? Because there's an option here, right, where this little hammer is, where you can also pull up a script, a comic book page for your book to start importing your script into, right?
Okay.
So let's say we want to work with a classic, not my bleed format, 11 by 17 page. Right? Because I may want to print out this drawing to work on it and doing traditional lettering and blue lines over it. I might want to have a traditional aspect to it, correct?
Right.
So we have a title, script, caption. So let's say we want to import a caption here. You could just grab it, move it over, and it pops up on the page.
Okay.
And you could see where you want to put it at.
Wow.
Let's say you want to pull in the special effect here, onomatopoeia.
Oh.
And it pulls it automatically.
That's why you want your script to follow these guidelines and have these different icons already next to it, so then the app knows that text goes with that type of effect, and you just grab
and just pull
the
it over.
icon.
Yep. So, and that works with the dialogue as well. You can move that over because this accommodates for you preparing your work, and it doesn't matter how you start. It matters how you end. And some people are more writer savvy than artist savvy, or some artists they just want to already have the script and they just want to get to the drawing part. But you still have to accommodate for the words.
Right.
So this is a way to kind of incorporate that into your process.
You see that? You understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
You have Facebook friend? Okay. All right. So that's really cool. I like that. I never thought of that. That's awesome. Does it draw for you too? Like, can you just?
I wish. But what you can do is you can import pictures. Because I definitely recommend working with references, and as references can mean how something looks like, or even how a shot would be composed. So, as you build up your drawings, you may not have you're still working out how the composition is going to look like.
Right.
So, let's say you want to draw a panel here. We're working on the panel. And you may have to import an image. So you could paste the image from your photos, take a picture of your camera. But if you're just going to be drawing it out, you want to already start kind of thinking where the characters are going to go, what's happening. And you get to, start playing around with that, move things around.
So it's intuitive in the form that once you see where the tools are, you can start playing and exploring and just kind of testing things out, see how it works, right?
Yes. So as you mentioned earlier, it's about developing a workflow. And to have a workflow, you want to be able to flow and get stuck as least as possible, and be able to maneuver through frustrations of the comic creating process. And basically to get through those things, you want to have as much to work with as possible. So you have the script already, you have the bubbles already, so you put that in and start laying out your pages and working through just the drawing process of accommodating your art to what's already accomplished, which is the dialogue and the crying.
Okay, very cool. So that's just getting started. You were starting to import our script or writing a script, and so so how do you start a comic and a script at the same time? Is that okay? Should you do that?
Yes, you want to start as soon as possible and get as much of a brain drain as possible.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is write your idea or start sketching. And
one of the two or both.
Yeah, you can do both if you have to. This is a pencil app. Sometimes you don't want to just start typing. You might just start writing stuff. And pointing at things, and what's going to go into the page. You're going to start composing. So if you're more of a writer, you're gonna start typing it up. And that's what's cool about, as you notice here, it accommodates both. Right? You could do just a script.
Oh.
You could do just a comic, or you could do both side by side. If you want to get, pull up the script, you could be doing both at the same time. You typing up, switch over to the screen here, start drawing some stuff, put some notes over here, pulling it over, and play it back and forth. Like sequential art's all about words and pictures playing together, and the final product is what words are going to make it and what imagery is going to be the final product.
Okay. So let's start with a script that script is in there already, right? That was one of those examples where the script was there. What if we want to start a new script and a new page, a new comic book? Take us through those steps, because getting started should be a little bit fast and intuitive. And so I know these you can delete later and stuff. So start one up. So we open the app, get the plus sign on the left.
Boom. Yep. Create a comic. So if we're not sure what we script, we just want to get into some drawing. You want to either have your template or just have an idea what kind of size you want to work with. Is it going to be a landscape or vertical kind of book? That's like the first decision. You want to know if it's going to be like kind of a widescreen, like storyboard, or if you want to have like a vertical feel, like a comic book. So you get to decide. You decide that. That's
okay.
So let's say we want to do, U.S. letter.
Sure.
Like we're just working on a sheet of computer paper. We don't even know what we're doing with it. But it's okay because we could always build on that later.
And immediately when it opens, you're on the sketching, board.
Yes. So there's 3 modes. There's the sketching mode, inking mode, which allows for the final inking and coloring, and then there's the lettering mode, which is for putting in your dialogue, special effects, titles, captions, so on and so forth. So it starts with the sketching, which is a pencil tool, and it shows you different options for pencils that you could use.
Got it.
There's 2B pencil, charcoal, tortillon, cross-hatching stuff.
I wonder what tortillon is.
So
what is that? Is that a real thing in real life?
I'm assuming. I've only heard of it through this app, honestly. I've never been to an art store and looked up a tortillon. Sounds like tortilla or something, right?
Okay. So there's options for drawing, but let's keep going because we want to show like somebody who's writing a script at the same time and drawing. So we have the drawing tools. How do we get to the script now? It's a blank script, right? So there's a wrench.
So there's a wrench here.
And then?
So you see the 4th option here. There's an eyeball showing comic, both, or script.
Okay.
So let's say we want to do both.
Click on both.
Boom.
And it starts up because it knows you're going to write something.
Yeah. So you already start going, title. You can start, what's the name of this story? And it already pops up as a title.
Oh.
See that?
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to put, My
Little Pony and Friends.
Yeah, my comic story. Sure. Right, and it's there.
Okay.
And if, let's say you want to start with pulling that in there, you can do that. Bam.
Oh, wow.
And and that's like a template that it shows up, but you could go ahead and even start playing with the title. Sometimes you just want to play with how that logo is going to be or something, right? So you have options for that. You could do this fill, border, and effects.
Wow. So
we could even change what kind of, if you want to change it to black and white, if it's gradient, color, you can make the border look super different,
All right. So let's, so we started to write a comic on the right side and we have the drawing on the left. And as we start typing out that comic, we go from the rough sketches to possibly inking, and then later, and there's different modes. So show me those modes.
Okay, so we got in the pencil mode, we got 3 different colors: blue lines, red lines, and black. And even in there, you could go gradient from super dark to super light.
Okay.
All right. So let's say we draw a picture here. We got our buddy. All right. And we just, we got an idea what's going to be happening here. And
there goes the rough sketch.
Sketch, right? But we want to, now we're ready to build up on it. We want to get into the juicy stuff.
So you change the mode to inking.
To inking mode, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So in the inking mode, when you click on it, there's the pencils available. You have the different types of pens available: calligraphy, marker, dry inker. You have paint brushes available. If you want like a chalk effect, acrylic. You also got transfers available, like dots, hatching. And these are pretty cool for different
lot of stuff.
You got some screen tones as well. And I would suggest playing with all of them to see what you like, get different effects. You could even when you select them, you could even adjust them and make multiple copies of certain brushes. Right? And then you can also heart them as your favorite and make your palette of your favorite ones. So I like markers. I got my brushes here. I got my different hatches. I got my airbrush, how I like it, and also the different kind of dots and tones that I like to play with for my particular aesthetic.
Got it. So let's start inking. Let's start your inking style or something.
So I'm gonna go a marker brush.
Marker brush.
Yeah, and I like to start with black line. And I like to move my paper around. To zoom in. So let's say you want to do eyeballs here. That.
Just like that.
Well, you're already inking over it.
You could draw the word bubbles yourself. You don't have to use the templates that they have, right?
No, you could draw them yourself if you want. You can even put the word bubbles in there and then trace over them.
Oh, and then get rid of it.
And it'll give you a hand lettering look. Make sure you you do different layers for stuff. And it has the pencil layer as you clean up your artwork. You could get rid of that and keep even building on that. You could do fills and stuff. So let's say you got this going on here. You want to create some closed contours, and you make another layer. There's a paint bucket tool. You can start filling up on stuff. Oops. So that's another cool. You can spot blacks, but
I think because you're on a different layer.
Right?
You're on the wrong layer. I guess you gotta be on that one.
Yeah, it goes crazy.
So there you go. You gotta play around with it and get it right.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's available to you, so you don't have to sit there and fill in everything by hand. You can make your thing, and somehow I'll get it.
Make a different square. Just make a different circle or something, so we can see.
Yeah, let me do that.
There you go.
I don't know what's doing with that.
Maybe it's
Is that in some type of way?
There it is. Okay, so there was so you move the layer below the layer you want that has the line work, and you just touch inside that space, and then it filled it in.
Yep. So you could create your flat colors that way, and then create other layers. So you create.
That's good.
So you create all your flats, and then you got another layer to
to do your.
There's blending. There's multiple blending modes, so you can make your highlights, lowlights, extra details, all on separate layers and stuff. And then you can also group them. You can make your group of stuff. And,
oh, that's what that is.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. And then you don't have to. And then if you want to experiment or see how different things look like, you could just copy. You could just make a copy of the layer. Hide the one under it while you doing your experimentations, trying to see if something looks better another way.
And I know, like, there's a process where you can change the color of the line work without having to redraw it. Can you show us that option?
Yeah. So what you could do is you could sample. So in the ink mode, you have a palette available. You could even create your own palette or select other palettes. And with the eyedropper, let's say you want to make different colors here.
So that's a red.
You can make a palette. And then you got your black here if you want. And then even when you pick, so let's say you want to go back to red, you have the red available, and also the various values of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can just hold it down, make from white to black, and all the red to pinks in between.
Because you use the eyedropper to pick those two colors.
Yeah.
And you created a gradient.
Exactly.
A slider that you can then change between those two colors and in between. All right, so now at this point I have I want to color in the face, and I want the line work of the face to match sort of the color of the face that I'm gonna do. You know how comic books do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something you've seen on Comic Draw?
I haven't really seen it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not possible. You just have to kind of work around it.
Oh, okay.
So probably like, let's say, probably fill in the line work, or just kind of how you work. So what I would recommend, like you could use the bottom one as just the art, and then make another one, and see if we could like copy it somehow, and maybe just fill it.
I forget what it's called. There's a word for it.
Yeah, there is.
And I forgot. So it's okay. So this is the inking, coloring, and lettering. So let's do a speech bubble on him.
All right, let's go. So let's go right here.
We're back on so we got speech.
Yeah. So we know what we're gonna say. We don't have to worry about putting on the script.
Okay.
So we're in the lettering mode, right?
And the lettering mode, yeah.
So the finger one is to move stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
The ABC here is for titles.
Okay.
If you want to make a title for something or a special effect, onomatopoeia. Then you have the ABC in a rectangle. That's for captions. And then you have the various types of bubbles. The first one is a regular speech bubble. Then there's a thinking bubble, special effect. And so we just want to do a regular speech bubble, right?
Oh.
And you just select it.
Go back. Okay. And then double tap inside and start typing.
Yep. And you could change the... You can have
font.
Multiple fonts. You
Wow.
can import your font. You can change the lettering on it, make it as big as you want, bold. Usually you want to work in center. But if you want to work a different kind of way, definitely open to do that. If you want to justify it, align left, center right. I like to center my word bubbles. If you want to do emojis, whatever.
What? You can include emojis?
Yep.
Because people talk in emojis.
Yeah, and I use emojis and also to include copyright, trademark stuff. That's a good way to just easily.
Oh, that's in the emojis. Okay.
Yeah. So
type something, say something or whatever, or a word.
So we got something. Yeah. Boom.
And of course, as the more you do it, the easier the process becomes, and the more used to it you get.
Yeah. So you adjust it. You can move it anywhere you want. You want to put it here? He's saying stuff.
All right. We're gonna. So that's the letter. We're gonna move on to exporting. Let's say we have a comic. Let's say that page is a full comic, and we're ready to export. What do we do next?
We're gonna go here to the top where the wrench is. So you have a couple options. You have share and print. So you can send yourself a copy. You can send it to another app, or you can send it to your printer. You know, you select your printer. You can say how many copies you want to print out.
Okay.
So if you have it connected to Wi-Fi or something,
right?
You can open it in another app in your iPad. You know, so and then another one if you just want to share the current page, is it still part of a process?
You can share it to your social media. No. When it says current page, no.
Send a copy. And before you send it to social media, it's going to make you either send it in Comic Draw format, PDF. E-publishing is for the Comic Connect. That's an app. That's a sister app to Comic Draw, where people upload their comics, and people in the Comic Draw community could comment on it, share it, so on and so forth. You could turn it into a JPEG, which is like, compressed file that you could share on social media, so forth. Oh,
okay, that's the one.
Yeah.
Or Photoshop file, huh?
Photoshop file.
You can open it in Photoshop and still edit and do stuff.
Yep. And the PNG, that means with the background, the white background out there. So let's say we want to do what would be like a JPEG.
There it is.
So when you select the JPEG, it tells you how to send. Here you have. Since I selected a JPEG, I can send it as a message. I can send it as an airdrop. So sometimes I go between my other devices or somebody else's device if I'm collaborating with someone.
Sure.
You can email it, add it to your notes, upload it to Facebook.
Yep, there's social media.
You can send it to your Procreate.
You can Pinterest it, all that.
Pinterest
nice.
Photo share, copy it to other apps like Creator Cloud Studio, Dropbox. You can send it to your Instagram, MailChimp,
wow,
Photoshop, Slack,
everything.
All right. Save it to
your
your file, or just save it as an image onto your photo file.
Nice.
So yeah, you have the option for social media.
A whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's definitely good for your printing purposes, but it's definitely perfect and ample and professional for social media, online presence, content creation. It's a good machine for that.
Okay. Very cool. Where do we find you online?
At primevice.com, and you could also on social media at prime_vice.